how did the idea of Simpla come into existence?
Between me and my other two co-founders, we've got slightly different approaches and we all kind of came to the same conclusion. My last role was actually setting up finance systems and setting up entities within different markets. And what I realized was that actually every time you go to a market, you need to build a new relationship with an advisor. A lot of the time it takes quite a long amount of time to get that advice. They come backwards and forwards, you're getting billed on an hourly basis. And by the time you're kind of there, maybe the decisions have been changed. And it was a very slow process. And when we're kind of working in startups and scale-ups, you need that advice quicker because the decisions are being made very quickly.
One day ChatGPT comes in and DeepSeek, which says even ChatGPT isn't good enough. Isn't that a lot of added pressure on Simpla Ai to stay ahead?
This is probably the biggest revolution we've ever had. A new kind of tech that comes in, we basically integrate that to create our product as a better product at the end.
Where do you see Simpla headed and what are the upcoming milestones?
We're more focused on help you navigate some of the regulatory complexity, help you set up here. DeepSeek comes in, it's more cost effective. We can then reduce prices and we can deliver things faster.
Welcome to SPC Spotlight, where we highlight innovators, entrepreneurs, and industry shapeshifters who change the way we do our work every day. AI has disrupted the way we work on a day-to-day basis. Simpla Ai is one such company that is making life so much simpler and efficient for new entrepreneurs. Today we have Matthew Durack, the co-founder of Simpla Ai, to tell us what is Simpla Ai and how can it help all of you take your business to the next level. Welcome to the podcast, Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us today, Matthew. It's such an honor to have you with us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's brilliant to be here.
Let's dive right in. Tell me, what is Simpla Ai? What do you guys do?
Simpla Ai is the AI accounting advisor for the Middle East. We started in the UAE, that's our kind of home ground, and we created a platform where you can access information bespoke to your business and tailored to your business that you can also refer back to in terms of sources. And we focus on accuracy to deliver that advice as accurate as possible. And we aim obviously 100%, but at the moment we're kind of sitting around 95 to 98%, already better than human advisors, but obviously doesn't sleep. You can message at any time, you get the response very quickly. We do also have a kind of sign-off functionality as well, where you can also ask a human advisor to get a little bit of extra kind of added clarity if you are worried that the AI system isn't going to give you the answers. And it kind of helps kind of cut through that anxiety I think a lot of people have using things like ChatGPT.
Right.
And then we're also kind of building out and actually rolling out next week. Basically, we've got a couple of different modules which allow you to add a lot more information to your questions, which again, kind of add more insights to your business. So a lot of it is, how can we get an AI accounting and tax advisor that understands our business and can kind of deliver things to the best of our ability?
Matthew, can you run us through a real world example of how Simpla Ai works?
And you also have to build that relationship, that trust. It's being able to kind of get those added bits of advice for a very cost effective solution and quickly so that you can make those decisions quicker and faster. For SMEs, again, like now you've got a little bit more information, but actually you're kind of looking at what sort of things you want to do in terms of different business lines. You're able to kind of run those through and to like basically create a few different kind of tax plans or accounting plans to work out which are the best directions. Again, it would be very costly to use an external advisor, and even your internal team will always want to kind of run things past other teams. So you get more of an objective view of someone who's more aligned to your business, and that's what the simpler system would do. And then for enterprises, actually, you're talking about massive volumes of transactions. You've got people working day in, day out. How do you get that information up to date and then also relay that to all of the individual people working within the team? So again, Simpla kind of solves that by being the up-to-date kind of system of record for your accounting and tax within your business, things like accounting policies and tax advice and tax structuring.
Like one day ChatGPT comes in and changes the way all of us work. And then a few months later, you have something like a DeepSeek, which says even ChatGPT isn't good enough. So isn't that a lot of added pressure on Simpla Ai to innovate, to stay ahead of the curve? And how do you deal with that?
This is probably the biggest revolution we've ever had. Everyone says since the Industrial Revolution, but I think almost ever. Like we're talking about replacing kind of human labor to a certain extent and where we kind of fit in the new world. The way that we've kept up to date and way we've structured it is we're a product. So we create a product and the end solution is how good the advice is that you receive. So an LLM that comes in or a new kind of tech that comes in, we basically integrate that to create our product as a better product at the end. So your advice gets more and more accurate. So the way we kind of harnessed it was that actually if DeepSeek comes in, it's more cost effective. We can then reduce prices and we can deliver things faster. Obviously safety is the biggest thing. And I think there have been some kind of questions around where your data goes with DeepSeek. Same with ChatGPT, whether or not it's the most efficient. There's a lot of questions there. I think a lot of it is more about kind of navigating these things and making sure that you're built to adjust and pivot quite quickly. And that's how we built it. So basically, we're kind of a very modular system, the way that we can kind of plug and play, and we're adaptable. So we always kind of benchmark against new systems. We always look at how we're going to make our specific product better and more accurate. And that's our real goal and purpose for building Simpla.
I want to pick your brains a little bit on, the entrepreneurial aspect behind Simpla. How did the idea of Simpla come into existence?
And there's a few reasons why. I think between me and my other two co-founders, we've got slightly different approaches, and we all kind of came to the same conclusion. My personal background, I've been more in industry. I wasn't a practice accountant. I was an accountant within a company. I did a lot more kind of integration and finance systems. My last role was actually setting up finance systems and setting up entities within different markets. And what I realized was that actually every time you go to a market, you need to build a new relationship with an advisor. A lot of the time, it takes quite a long amount of time to get that advice. They come backwards and forwards. You're getting billed on an hourly basis. And by the time you're kind of there, maybe the decisions have been changed. So now that you need to go back to the advisor, and 2 weeks later, you get more advice. And then is the advice accurate? You're building up that relationship. And it was a very slow process. And when we're kind of working in startups and scale-ups, you need that advice quicker because the decisions are being made very quickly. The slower the advice, that potential opportunity cost is massive. From the other side, my other two co-founders are both actually set up a boutique advisory service, tax and consulting service for the GCC about seven years ago now. And what they realized was that actually, in order to scale, in order to grow bigger and actually help companies, you needed a scalable solution. And actually just adding more and more people and more advisors isn't necessarily the scalable solution. Like looking at how you can create a system that is integrated with those companies so that you can actually help them directly, also objectively as well. So the other thing is, from an advisor's point of view, what is their purpose? Their purpose is to support their company and make their company more billable hours. Whereas if you're a system that's agnostic to those specific decisions, you're actually trying to add as much value as possible to the user. So that's why we created Simpla to really kind of solve that and create that solution for companies to get advice quicker, faster, and aligned to their businesses.
And how does Simpla fit into the scheme of size of enterprise? Like, is it adaptable to small companies as well as large-scale enterprise?
The way we'd kind of looked at it was going, actually, SMEs was our kind of big market. We really wanted to build something that SMEs could use to scale. But we started doing a lot of testing, and we did a lot of beta testing. And actually, a lot of our kind of network was quite a lot of quite big enterprises. So we had a lot of accountants and tax advisors throughout large enterprises in the UAE, even across like places like the UK and Europe. And what we found was they were like, this really solves a problem for enterprises as well. So enterprises were going, we know what the value of the advice we're getting externally is. We still need to do in kind of internal objective kind of view on what we're looking for from the advice. But actually, we still then check. So I've got an external advisor, maybe Big Four, or I've got one of the big accounting firms to give me a kind of proposal on maybe a tax planning or maybe something like, let's say, a transfer pricing agreement. I'd want to get an review first before I go to that firm to make sure that I'm kind of double checking. Like, are they giving me the advice that's maybe the best for my company? So Simpla basically gives them that view and also then helps them kind of create that scalable infrastructure to spread that advice to different people, build different scenarios and situations like that. Whereas SMEs, it's going, okay, I've set up my company, now what do I do? And it's helping them kind of understand, okay, well, you've registered your company this year, brand new company. I need to look at corporate tax registration now. So that's come in. But the regulations change quite a lot. So every couple of weeks, you've got a new regulation loading. And so you then need to speak to someone and go, is there any changes that are relevant to me? So Simpla also kind of makes that simpler. Basically allows those to keep up to date within 2 days. We have any new tax law or any regulation added to our system. And then that user can then interact with it and also see that kind of up-to-date notification of saying, oh, this is a key takeaway, but this is how it affects me, or maybe it doesn't affect me. And in which case, carry on and focus on what's important for their business, which is growing, creating new revenue, sales, marketing,
right?
Whatever they focus on.
And what's next for Simpla? Like we said, it's such a fast evolving industry. Where do you see Simpla headed, and what are the upcoming milestones?
Onwards and upwards is always the route. I think a lot of our focus is distribution. I'm not massively interested in just doing a lot of paid ads and things like that. We're more focused on how can we really help and add value directly to where people need it. So partnerships with companies like SPC and Free Zones, that helps us to help them navigate a lot of the complexity, but also help the environment, the ecosystem within the UAE. So companies that are coming abroad, we're open for business. We've got tools. We can help you navigate some of the regulatory complexity to help you set up here and help you kind of build and become more kind of dynamic as a company and grow throughout the region.
Right. And also Simpla recently signed a partnership with SPC Free Zone. So we're more than happy to onboard our customers onto you. And for our viewers, I must let you all know, Simpla has been kind enough to share a discounted pricing for all SPC Free Zone customers. So do go in and give that a try as well. Matthew, I want to end my interview with you on the last question on your journey as an entrepreneur. What would you say are the 3 biggest lessons that entrepreneurship taught you?
I would say, number one, you've got to be adaptable. There isn't a day that's ever the same. It's always continually changing, and you need to be able to kind of take that in your stride. So whatever comes up that day, you've got to be ready for it, and you've got to basically be able to pivot quite quickly. I think the second one is listening. I think a lot of it is about understanding where the pain points are. What is the problem that you're actually trying to solve? And don't just focus on a solution. I think a lot of companies nowadays are going, let's put AI in everything.
Yeah.
Why are we delivering something? What problem are we trying to solve? And is there value that we're adding to the customer, to the user, but just to the environment in general? I think ultimately that's kind of our license to trade. Why are we there as kind of a social contract? The third one is people. And regardless of the fact that we're an AI company, we're working with people. So
Right.
I think from our team, from my co-founders, from customers, from everyone that we work with, it's about understanding that everyone's human, but everyone also wants to kind of navigate the world and see where everything's going. And I think a lot of what we're trying to build with a lot of kind of workshops and webinars and kind of understanding and educational kind of side of things is this isn't necessarily something to be very scared of. I think it's something that we can embrace, and you can get ahead of the curve, understand where this industry is going. And I think industry in general, and with this technology, how can you prepare yourself for the future of what society looks like in the next 5 to 10 years? Bill Gates says it quite a lot, but he said, like, we always overestimate what will happen in 1 year, but underestimate what will happen in 5.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of things that you can see already with a lot of the AI image generators. I think one of the video ones is quite a good one, is Will Smith eating spaghetti. So the first version was a thing of nightmares, but then within a year you saw it and it actually looked very, very close. And I think there's a lot of things that people look at the problems and they go, it's not going to be solved. And you go, no, that's just something that will be solved in the future. So you can kind of extrapolate it out and see where everything's going. People is kind of the core to any business, any startup. And I think it will be ultimately, I hope, for forever. But there is kind of a human agency element that I think is really important in AI and technology today.
Matthew, thank you so much for coming in today and bringing all your wealth of experience and knowledge with you. AI is a sector that so many of us are so curious about and want to know more. And I think what Simpla is doing is making life simpler for so many entrepreneurs who just don't know where to start and get the right advice from. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure speaking to you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure speaking to you, Afreen.
That was another amazing SPC Spotlight episode. If you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you soon in our next episode.